Hi, and welcome back to
Inspired to Game. I'm Sean.
And I am Lola. Today, we are talking about Solar 175. Now, this is a legacy campaign competitive game for 1 to 4 players, or 5 if you have the deluxe edition, by Kogito Ergo Meeple, who we want to thank for sending us a copy of the game to review. Now, before we get into a review, we'll give you a very quick overview of how to play it. In Solar 175, you play a CEO of a spacefaring corporation. Your goal is to earn the most influence points through conscripting workers to the peacekeeping forces, funding megastructure projects, building bases, and vying for the most influence in the various zones of the solar system. Each round consists of 3 phases, beginning with the draw phase. Everyone will simultaneously draw workers from their bag depending on how much space they have on their player board. This starts at 4, and you can unlock up to 8 spaces during the duration of the game. The next phase is to assign workers. Simultaneously, everyone will take the workers that they have drawn from their bag and assign them to various locations on their player board. Each worker must match the location you want to use them in, except for the pink algorithms that can be used as a wild anywhere. In order to complete each action, you must assign the full complement of workers needed to activate it. These actions will include moving or trade actions, outpost actions, as well as hiring actions. When you perform a hiring action, you'll be able to acquire a new worker that will then later go into your bag, and most of these also have an additional hiring bonus action. In addition, worker removal actions allow you to permanently assign a worker to a location on the board. You would do this by either earning military tokens, megastructure tokens, or opportunities to vote for the upcoming election that happens at the end of the game. Now, these workers are permanently leaving your bag and will be affecting endgame scoring based on the location you put them on the board. Now, after the endgame conditions are met, you proceed to endgame scoring, which begins with an election phase. You add up all of the votes within the election box, and whoever won the election will affect the course of the scoring. In addition, whoever has earned the most presence in each of the zones will be getting influence points as well. Once scoring is completed, boxes are marked off for each player for their various achievements that game on their campaign tracker cards. Once a player has completed any one of these sections, they will earn a corresponding award that will earn them campaign points for the end of the campaign. Whoever has earned the most points through these awards at the end of the campaign will be declared the winner of Solar 175.
So the mechanics we have in Solar 175 are legacy, area control, bag building, worker placement, and voting.
The artwork in this game is absolutely exquisite. Now, one of the things I love is the various cards building out this solar system. So you start out with a couple of zones, and as you play progressive games, you're venturing out into the solar system and you're uncovering more, and your knowledge is growing as well as your ability to expand into these areas. They're really beautiful, the artwork as well as how it fits together.
I'm really impressed with the way, in the beginning you think, oh, it's this tiny little thing, doesn't take up a lot of table space, but then as you start to build, you think, oh, it's going to be huge by the end. But no, it actually works out in a nice little rectangular formation of these cards, and it's just as much space as you would get from any other board game.
And a really unique thing here is it comes with a magazine that's from the time period that you are playing in, which is this dystopian future. But the art is fantastic in it. The stories are interesting. The world building that's involved with this game is absolutely astronomical. The amount of work and detail that went into it. You're really built a solid foundation of this alternate world that's dynamic, that's interesting, that's engaging and immersive.
Yeah, and that world building has extended into, they have another game, Luddite, which is coming out, which is based in this universe. It's really fantastic. And the magazine, in addition to helping immerse you in the world of the game, is also where you're going to record your scoring. Although they do have an alternative method where you could download the PDFs and print them out if you want to keep the magazine in a pristine state.
Yeah, and otherwise it becomes your legacy. It becomes your record of your experiences with it, which is fantastic. The components are really fantastic here as well. So your worker tokens are wooden bits. Same with the outposts. Those are nice little wooden donuts. The miniatures are all very nice as well. Now, we do have to say that everything that you see here, it is from the deluxe edition. And we don't know what the differences are. The regular. And the interesting thing with reading the magazine and getting immersed in this world, you really get a sense of when you're playing this game that you're actually the bad guys here. You are the greedy corporation that's running things, that's stepping on people, taking away jobs, and just doing what they need to win the game and to vie for all their influence points. So that's an interesting aspect too.
Conscripting your workers into the freedom forces when they
Yes.
are no longer of use to you.
Yes, exactly. And the legacy aspect is really exciting here. How everything expands. So for the first while, the solar system is literally expanding as you're getting new parts for it. But each game, you're also getting either new abilities or things like extra player powers or extra ships and so on and so forth. Like, we want to be careful not to do any spoilers as well. But as things shift and grow, your strategy can become more dynamic as well. There's more going on here. There's more to think about. And it's exciting as the story unfolds as well.
And I found it really exciting as you open up new possibilities, both on the game board and within the individual player powers. It just made it really exciting to get to that next game and play with those new powers and see what you can do with them.
Yeah, and to see how the story was going to progress next, because it's so fascinating. It's so exciting. Now, for our first few games, we felt that the area control aspect was really undervalued and we didn't understand why. So I know going into our last game, I'm like, I'm not even going to bother because it doesn't seem to make any difference. Because when you're putting, say, your workers into the three main strategies of bases, funding megastructures, as well as the military tokens, any workers you put on those associated hubs will be a multiplier for your endgame scoring based on how many of those tokens you got or how many bases you have out in the various areas. Whereas any workers you put in the hubs for the area control places is a linear progression. You get 1 extra point, maybe 2 extra points, versus maybe 170 extra points. So it can be a huge difference. So it just didn't seem right to us that it was so undervalued. But then it finally clicked and we understood, because we were looking at our individual games and winning an individual game, but there's a long-term view here of the entire campaign. So if you get majority in the various areas repeatedly enough that you can fill in your card for that, you get awards. And it is these end game campaign award points which win you the final campaign. So technically, you could go through the entire campaign and not win a single game, but pull off a win for the entire campaign.
Here's hoping.
So yeah, we'll see.
The individual games themselves are so much fun that I keep forgetting that there is a long-term goal that I should be keeping in mind. So I'm looking at, oh no, she's going to score more points in there. I should diversify and try and get over there and get some of those points myself, where what I should be doing is not caring. Because it might not matter anyway.
Well, it is interesting, and it certainly adds to the whole strategy in the game. Because, yeah, say if you win enough points that you get that gold award for that. After that point, there's no value at all in winning the game for the long-term thing. But have you earned the most for the various area controls? Have you earned the most for however much money you have left over at the end of the game? Or how many mining resources do you have? So all of these different achievement possibilities are what bring in that final win. So each individual game is not necessarily about winning that individual game. There's much more strategy here as you're looking towards those long-term goals of getting the achievements first, earning most of those campaign points at the end. Yeah, which makes it much more exciting to me. So I think we loved this game right from the beginning, but it wasn't until really comprehending that, for that clicking for us, this long-term vision of it, that it's not just about the individual who won this individual game, but is so much more to look at. That really expanded the strategies, that made it feel much more dynamic and exciting to me. Now, for all our reviews, we pretty much play 2-player, and so our reviews are based on a 2-player game. This is one of those games that we didn't find as engaging at 2 players as it would be at a higher player count. However, they have AIs that are actually pretty good that you can play with instead. And so when we tried that, it definitely added to the dynamics of the game, particularly because like we've got area control here, we've got voting. So when it's just 2 people, it becomes a bit of a tug of war. But you get another player in, even if it's an AI, now they're contributing to that. So it makes it feel more dynamic. So we definitely recommend if you're playing with 2, you can play with 1. You can even play with 2 AI if you want to.
And again, in our early games, because at least in my part, forgetting that there are long-term campaign goals that you're working towards, the fact that I could tell exactly what Lola was going to vote for, and then I felt like I was being forced to follow that same strategy. And usually I'd be a step behind, and it was kind of frustrating. But looking back now, if I had remembered that it doesn't matter if I score more points or not, then it wouldn't have been so bad. And it doesn't matter what she's voting for. She's going for military, whatever, let her.
And that's the interesting thing here, though, too, because say if you can tell what another player is going for, well, that means you know what party they're likely voting for, and you can jump in on that. So like with our last game, I really went all in on the military, and I was ahead in the military and throwing all these multipliers in to really maximize my score there because I was in the lead. And he was focusing on bases. Well, at the same time, I was getting my bases out. So as he was increasing the worth of bases, I was capitalizing on that as well by doing the bases too. So it's kind of a nice element where you see what people are investing in. Great, I'm going to get in on that action. So you don't have to feel like you're left behind.
Yeah, and the addition of the AI just made that a little more gray area. I couldn't tell exactly what was going on, and it just makes it a little more exciting that way.
Yeah. Now, there are several different endings to the game as well that are based on the choices that you make throughout. So for the first 4 games, you are told what megastructure you're going to be building, and beyond that, you get to choose. So you have personal direction in which way you're taking the game, and that goes as well for what parties you're voting in with each game too. So it's kind of interesting that where you're leading is going to be different each time as that story unfolds. And so this is a highly replayable game as well. So I asked in the community if anybody has completed it, and I had one response, and they said it was about 25 plays for them, and it also could technically be played indefinitely, and that's really neat. Like, it is not over quick, and for us, each of our plays was about 3 hours each, and that's just for the 2 of us. So for us, it was a long game as well. So there is so much game here, and you can keep playing it as is, even with completing the story, even with going through it at a certain point. And there's even recharge packs as well. So if you do want to start over from the very beginning of the solar system before it ever got developed, you can do that too. And the bag building element is a lot of fun here too. We do enjoy a bag building game. Now, and what's neat too is that this is why it's so important to do a review when you've played more than just 1, 2, 3, or 4 games. It's nice to get more plays in there because you really can start to feel the strategy of things. Because I remember one game, I think it was my 3rd game, where I got so frustrated with the bag building because I'd have turns where it's like, all I have is my white workers type of thing. But with our latest game, I really streamlined my bag down. I actually got it to where I had 10 to 12 workers in there at any given time, and I was pulling 8 workers each time. So I pretty much was able to grab my whole bag at once, and I had in it exactly what I wanted to be able to pull off just about anything in a turn. So, and with each ones that I would give off to go into a hub and lose, I would get a corresponding one as well. So I was able to maintain a status quo without having some frustrating bag building luck built into there. So culling that bag down is a really, really helpful thing for having an efficient engine in your game.
And that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about the bag building and the deck building. Something that I never could pull off when I was playing Magic the Gathering or any collectible card games, because I always wanted my coolest stuff in there, and my ratios were always bad and my pulls were bad. I've learned now, and that's why bag building, I think, is really exciting.
Now, my final thoughts here. Overall, we are having a fantastic time with this game. I love the world building. I love the art. The legacy aspect is exciting as we press forward through it. And because it's not just about winning individual games, but the long-term goal of winning the various achievements for the awards for the end game final points. It makes the strategies fairly dynamic, and certainly a lot more than we first thought after our first 3 games or so, and I love that. So this is one we are definitely excited to press on with, and perhaps when we finish the campaign, we might make another video on our full finished experiences.
Yeah, we played similar games, but I really love the theme of this one, and I'm really excited to continue on with that legacy and get to the campaign and figure out what ending we end up with.
Yeah, it's a brilliantly designed game. I really love the designs of their games, and I'm always excited to see what they are going to come out with next. So if this sounds interesting to you, you can check it out. Thank you so much for watching us today.
If you've enjoyed this content, please support the channel by subscribing.
And as always, happy gaming, folks. It's so cold in here. Hiring actions. In addition, worker removal actions allow you to remove a work. And if it was a workers' union party, they will be doubling the influence points for military tokens. Hi.
Worker union party, we say whoop whoop.
We say whoop whoop. As opposed to the losers who suck it.
Loser.
Indeed.
She made me say it.
What, did you not want to say it?
No, I'm fine saying
I
it.
thought it was nice for you to start out.
Now I've said it. And now you're just like a pregnant pause. And then you say, like, okay, I don't know why he said that, but he did. It's a non sequitur from. He set me up to be ridiculed.
I do weird things with my hands. I'm like sitting here like this. It's like I feel like making no crotchety.
It was comfy, so I sat like this for most of the video.
Yes, just strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. Hi.
Hi.
You know, right?
Rad Rom.
Rad Rom.